Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Superfed TV Presents the REBBL REL Divisions 1, 2, and 3. Today, we are just going to be taking a look at Division 3 since it's about mid-season and looking at each of the teams, going over how their seasons have gone so far, what development they've had, and what their playoff chances look like. Joining me today is Coach from Division 3, Rumblebee, coach of Howl at the Moon. How's it going, Rumblebee?
Good. How you doing?
Good, good. Surviving the lovely Seattle Pacific Northwest rain and wind right before
Yeah,
Thanksgiving.
it's a balmy 45 degrees in Chicago. So
Nice, nice. All right, well, let's kick things off. We are basically just going to be going through the teams in order, and we'll pop into the leaderboard at the end when we start talking about the playoffs. But Cenobite the Curb is going to be the first team that we look at, and they're actually your opponent week 8, which is where we're at, so good timing there. The total team record is 10, 9, and 28. However, for this season, they are 2, 2, and 3. And so Chaos obviously takes a while to ramp up, so they're a little bit more, or I guess they're winning more than they were in the past, but that standard 3-3-3 is kind of the track that they're on. This team, let's see, you haven't played them yet, obviously, so you don't know too much about how they play. But when I look at the development, this is the Chaos team that just kind of does a little bit of everything.
yeah, I played him last season, so I kind of know how he plays a little bit. He did focus more on the bash aspect of the game instead of the ball for a
Mm-hmm.
while, so that might explain his record previous to this season. But from the games I've checked out this season, he seems to be more ball focused, which is good.
That's good. Yeah. Recently, Sace and I talked a little bit about this team, and we kind of picked on the strength for Beastman that has break tackle instead of 2 heads. But it's still a very useful piece. Even with the extra arms, it's basically a receiver and a dedicated kind of scoring threat with blodge, too. That's kind of nice. And the strong arm, kickoff return, sure hands, Beastman, which is really a quarterback. I actually really like that too.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to deal with. Um, I haven't had to deal with a lot of passing yet. Um, I played both of the elf teams, and only one of them really passed,
Hmm.
and the other one just kind of ran the ball around. So having two pieces that are dedicated for throwing, I think it'll be a challenge for me.
Yeah, it'll be especially important for you to blitz the scoring threat as the meme
Yeah,
has become. Although this one's
thanks
going to
for
be
that.
a straightforward blodge one, so we'll see, we'll see. One thing I like about the team is he's got 3 different tackle pieces. Normally on Chaos, tackle is something that's an afterthought or a wish you have, but not necessarily right away. And 2 of them have Mighty Blow as well, so that will give him a chance against elves or werewolves, as it may be. Um,
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Lucky for
It's
you, there's no tackle, claw, Mighty Blow, so
yeah,
the hodgepodge of skills hasn't lined up for that yet. Um, let's see. The other thing I guess we were talking about before we started was the stand firm. He's got a couple stand firm guard pieces on his Chaos Warriors. One of them is strength 4 with tentacles, and actually the tentacles has done stuff when we looked at the dice logs. So even though it's on the strength 4 and not the strength 5 one, I assume he's eventually going to get tentacles on the strength 5 one too, since he's already seen value.
yeah. But the problem with the strength 5 one is he's niggled.
Mm-hmm.
So having him based all the time with people, that might
Yeah.
not be a great thing.
Yeah. Usually you're not using the tentacles on the teams that beat you up. You're usually only kind of focusing that on elves, and which is already a tough match for Chaos in the first place. But
Yeah.
and he's got Mighty Blow now, so if you don't knock him over, he's gonna punch you back.
I'll just have to make sure I knock him over.
Yeah, definitely. Fan factor 7. Obviously, that's a result of the record. Let's take a look at his history this season. So the matches that he has played. Looks like he started off. Looks like he had you at the end of last season, probably.
Yeah.
Very last game. So 1-1 draw. The secret of my success was a 1-1 draw. He lost to 3 Mountains, drew against the Big Green Weenies in a match where neither one of them could get the ball in the end zone. Got his first win against Lords of Decay, which makes sense. He's got enough tackle to deal with the Rats. Please don't murder me. He murdered and got a 3-1 win. That's his biggest win of the season. I'm going to take a quick peek at that. 17 armor breaks out of 52 blocks, so High Elves gave up a lot of hits, and I'm guessing their knockouts stayed a little bit more than yours did.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of SPP. 8, 9, 11, 20 SPP for a Chaos. That is a very, very useful game. And this is the one where I said tentacles mattered. 5 tentacle rolls failed for the High Elves. So that is a great, great match for this Chaos team. And I'm sure he wishes there was more Elves in this division, judging by the way that went. And in fact, I'm going to look at the tentacle rolls on these Rats. I wonder if that was a factor as well. Only 1 failure, so I did something. Probably not the value that he's hoping to get out of it, but not FDA approved. A big match, 3-2 win for ATL. Again, Tentacles doing one thing once. 49 blocks, a lot of removals. Jeez, a lot of SPP. So this Chaos team is getting scarier by the minute, is what it looks like to me. The only questionable loss where he against Scholarly Gentleman, but that was a Chaos on Chaos match, so I'm guessing all the injuries went one way. 6 removals to 4, outblocked by the Scholarly Gentleman. So that was probably decided by the kickoff, if I'm being honest. But that was the closest thing to a blowout that Drunkernaut suffered this season. Anything else on this team?
Nah, not really. Nothing that we haven't already talked about.
All right. Moving on to your team. Conveniently, the second team on the list. Your overall season, or your overall record is 16-11-16. That's as mirrored as it can get.
I'm a big fan of palindromes.
Yeah, exactly. This season you are 5-0-2, which is much, much better. Almost like you got relegated. Looking at the pieces you've got a legend, Rod Longstaff. I can't not talk about that. Tell me about the decision to go with Pro, of all the choices that you had.
Well, it was pretty much going to be between Pro, Dodge, or Sidestep. I didn't really think about anything else, and I decided to go with Pro. 1, because I hate using team rerolls when I have to reroll jump up. It just bothers me.
Yeah.
Dodge, I decided against because more times than not, Rod is on his back already when they're ready to blitz him.
I'm gonna skip the your mom joke there.
Yeah, thank you. And Sidestep would be useful, but I don't really use Rod to surf. So I'd rather Rod was actually killing things and not pushing them off the pitch.
I like that. I originally did think Sidestep, but that's a good reason for it. If you're going to be piling on everything, and surfing is really probably more for the strength 4 one.
Yeah, and I did the math the other day, and 38% of his blocks end up in a removal anyways. So
pretty solid.
Yeah.
The only thing I possibly thought of just now would be something like Fend to try and keep him alive a little bit longer. Everything at this point that's going to try and kill him is going to have tackle anyway. So Fend might save him from a piling on or frenzy, but if he's going to die, he's going to die. I don't know. I think Pro is probably the right call.
Yeah, if he's going to die, it's not going to be from a block. It's going to be from a boot.
So we're a movement bust on the other werewolf, but he's strength up. is it to the point where if he gets niggled, he's canned, or is the strength up going to be enough to keep him around until he's really useless?
I tried playing without a strength up wolf, and it was really difficult. I had a lot of trouble. Um, so I think I'm gonna hold on to him
Yeah,
for a while. Like if he takes another move bust or something, I'll probably fire him.
yeah, he's an orc
Maybe
at that point.
yeah, maybe an AV bust would get him canned.
Okay, I'll keep an
But
eye on that.
a niggle with a niggle with a regen,
Not
not
the worst.
really.
Sure.
Yeah,
We're looking at some flesh golems. Block guard, about as standard stars you get. Mighty blow next, I assume.
I was gonna go mighty blow, maybe grab,
Okay.
but probably mighty blow because otherwise he'll just never level up ever again.
And then your mini flesh golems, the whites. Makes sense since you got a polymer that you don't need them for removals. Tackle next.
Yeah, I was gonna give um, Lance tackle, but he rolled a strength up, so I had to take the strength up.
Sure.
But yeah, Neil will definitely get tackle next because
So
I don't have enough tackle.
yeah, that's kind of that. And I mean, if you could get more guard, great. But it's hard to get guard where you want it. Um, ghouls. Have you? It looks like they've got a couple games under the belt. How have you been keeping those alive?
Luck. um, nah, Blodge has been working for me
Okay.
this season. My guard ghoul has been alive since the middle of last season, and the sidestep ghoul is actually a fresh ghoul that I picked up right at the end of last season because I lost my Rackle ghoul, and I've been using him to carry
Yeah,
when.
I did mention this on the chaos team. I got distracted. No wrestle pieces on the chaos team, and I think a one rackle piece as a safety is super effective. Usually the ghoul does that on this team. Um,
Yeah, I
we'll see.
had one, and he got punched, and he died. So I
You
built
just
the
went
I
for the
built
ball
the
carrier
carrier.
instead. Yeah,
I went for the ball carrier, um, and then decided that as soon as my guard ghoul dies, that I'll make another Rackle piece.
that seems to
But
be the. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess the guard. The guard's useful. Well, that seems to be working out better for you. Let's put it that way. Your record seems to be much better with it. So.
so the only thing I don't really like about my team, and people have shouted me down about this, is I don't have any SPP on my zombies. And
Which normally you don't want, but
yeah, normally you don't want, but I need two skills. I need a kick zombie and I need a dirty player zombie. And right now I have both skills on one zombie.
have you thought about going up to 13 players?
I have, but I mean, I'm already
Because the
like,
TV, yeah. So the thing is and your division's a little bit different, but usually when your TV as a necro team is around 1800, you're playing other teams that are around 18 to 2000 TV, and they're that's the claw team where you need the extra bench.
yeah,
However, you've been kind of lucky in that the teams that you're playing, you're on the higher TV side of, so you're not seeing that murder claw spam. So I guess it's
I'm
worked
like
out for you so
the
far.
third highest TV.
Yeah.
So I already give up like 200K in inducements every game. And I know one more zombie won't really change it all that much, but I seem to be doing all right at 12.
Well, we'll see if you change your mind when you leapfrog all the way up to Div 1 next season and get a place safe. So let's look at the matches you played this season. I think we said the last one was Cinnabite the Curb, and then you played, looks like Devastational, Necromantic Newbies. Was that this season? No, they're.
That
Yeah,
was
that is this season.
devastation.
Yeah, that was Devastational. That's right. Three Mountains.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
your
my
first
last
game.
game.
So you beat up on the Dwarves. I remember watching that one.
Yeah, it was almost a
Chaos.
pitch clear.
Yeah. Necromantic Newbies again. That's the one I was thinking of where they beat you 1-0.
Yeah, that was I definitely took it on the chin.
Lebowski Urban Achievers cleared the other Chaos team. Big Green Weenies. That was one where you got outbashed, but you still beat them, if I recall, right?
Yeah, I only blocked 17 times.
Jeez.
I think that's the lowest I've ever blocked. And
You still got the win.
yeah, I got the win.
Did you
It
just
was
score
I
really
was
fast on both times, or on both halves, or one half, I guess?
no. Um, I went on defense first, and
Okay.
I stopped his score, and I removed a couple of his guard pieces with Rod, and then he just clumped up in the center on my drive. So I surrounded him with zombies and flesh golems, and I just ran up the sideline, and I just screened him off.
Nice. So that
So
hyper
I just
control that the
yeah,
orcs knew that
I
didn't
just
work out.
didn't need yeah, I just didn't need to block because he couldn't get rid of my golems and my zombies.
Well, you've got all the stand firm in the world, so that makes sense that you were able to kind of get in his way. And if you don't have Juggernaut Frenzy, can't get rid of that stand firm.
Yeah, no, the picking up all that stand firm was great for me. I used to think stand firm was almost a waste, and it's really been doing a lot of stuff for me.
The
So
match that you would
I'm a big
love to do
advocate for it.
over, Please Don't Murder Me, took 3-2.
Ugh.
Sweltering Heat, we know, was a factor. We also saw 9 knockouts, but all of them came back. So you're just basically giving them a water break before they came back on the pitch.
Yeah,
He outblocked you, or no, you outblocked him by 5, so it was pretty close in blocks. Um, but yeah, that's an interesting one. A lot of scores. I don't think I've ever
yeah,
had a 3-2 match.
that was very frustrating for me. Um, because I lost so many players to the Heat on my drive, I couldn't stall it out, so I had to score early, which gave him 2 turns to equalize in the first half.
Mm,
And he passed it to his AG6 catcher and just ran it down the sideline through both of my tackle pieces. He made like eight rolls with no re-rolls and just waltzed into the end zone. It
nice.
was yeah, it was frustrating,
And
but
then your most recent win was your biggest against not FDA approved. Um, only 32 blocks, but a ton of removals for you. 18 armor breaks, 6 knockouts, 4 injuries, and a kill. I think attrition is really starting to catch up with ATL.
yeah, no, he played great, but I mean that was Rod's legend game. I mean he was getting a removal every other turn.
Nice. Like 5 piling ons.
Um, yeah, I'm not sure how many I made.
Yeah, 5. Nice. Very cool. All right. Well, your team looks good. We'll talk a little bit more about your playoff chances here in a bit, but I like what I see so far. We just segued into them nicely. Not FDA approved, coached by ATL. We can't not talk about his legend in the making, Super Dragon 6000. 2 strength ups, going with the tackle for his 76-point skill. I forget what I told him he should get for his legend, but let's be honest, he's not going to live that long.
I tried so hard.
It's
felt
not even going to be like, if you just look at his team, you can see from the start of the season to now, he has lost so many pieces. And then getting that armor bust on that catcher last match, he's at 10k gold. He cannot buy more replacements. He's going to be putting loners on the pitch, and what it's going to come down to is Super Dragon 6000 will be standing alone, 300 style, against just an endless legion of dirty player zombies and skeletons stomping on his
yeah.
head over and over again until he dies.
During our game, I pitch cleared him, and the last elf on the pitch was Super Dragon 6000, and I literally surrounded him, like completely surrounded, blitzed in with Rod, didn't get the removal, and then I booted him, and
Yeah.
I got a KO. Like
Jeez.
100% foul, and I only got the KO.
He has been KO'd.
Out of respect, that would have been the only thing, the only elf that I would have actually kept on my team when I raised him as a zombie.
He hasn't even been hurt that much. He's had 4 casualties sustained and 8 knockouts and 28 stuns. Man, he is just hard to knock over in the first place. 93 blocks sustained. That is interesting.
I mean, he's a strength 5 blodge.
Yeah, you got to commit a lot to that. The rest of his team, it's in rough shape. We have a brand new thrower, which he's trying to level up. And until it gets blodge, I feel like is going to be a vulnerability. And he might not even go blodge first. He might go accurate, sure hands, those kinds of things before going blodge, and that's going to be really a scary time for him. The other blitzers just starting to get up and leveled. He does run 4 catchers, which I'm personally not a huge fan of. Now that one's agi busted, he's got to keep it around because you can't really replace it for a while. And then he's got some line meat, which usually the high elves don't do well unless their line meat is leveled. So I am worried about the long-term viability of this team. And Wrestle Guard is odd. But I guess you take the guard where you can get it. I might have gone with a second Mighty Blow threat. Or just skipped it altogether. I mean, you don't need a Wrestle Guard catcher. And you could get that guard somewhere else.
I mean, I don't know. I was always taught that you roll guard on an elf team, you take it no matter where it's at. But I guess I could see the wisdom in passing on it.
I mean, you rolled the wrestle catcher because all your other catchers are block, and you wanted a safety or a ball sack threat, sacking threat, ball sack threat. Nice. So then, as soon as you get wrestle, you go dodge. I mean, yeah, you got the double. I don't know. He's got his blitzing piece. The whole reason that you have guard is to set up your blitz. His blitzing piece is strength 5. I don't really think he needs the assist unless he's trying to go after big guy. I mean, that's the point I'm trying to make. So, to me, it doesn't seem like it's necessary for his team. But I think you're right. It might have just been that nagging feeling. Hey, you rolled the double, you got to take dodge or take guard, even when that's not the most efficient thing for his team.
Yeah, well, he's close to a level up. We'll see what he gives him next.
Overall record for the team, 18-7-11. I know he was a playoff coach his first season. That was when I started. He was in a different division than me. This season, he's 5-1-1. His only loss being to you. His draw being to the other team at the top, Dimension C137, which we'll eventually get to. So he's beating all the high teams, or beating all the lower teams, and not doing as well against the higher tier teams. So I guess you could say he's consistent, but he's also probably above average. Overall, looking at the matches he's played, Please Don't Murder Me was the one that there was disconnect after Please Don't Murder Me was super high up, 3-1 in the score.
Yeah.
And then he's had a couple blowouts, blowing out Scholarly Gentleman, blowing out The Secret of My Success, couple close games, Scorefest against Cenobite the Curb, and Necromantic Newbies. So he's played a very versatile style of game. Last thing I'll touch on, though, I talked about the thrower, but he does not like to pass. And so you had mentioned before, he hadn't really played a lot of passing teams. Luke Psalm is the passing elf. This one is definitely not. And the reason for that is he is prone to interception. So he's learned the hard way why he doesn't want to pass as often as he does, or as often as other elf coaches do. But we'll move on. I guess I am falling behind on pace here, so we'll try and pick these up. Scholarly Gentleman, Testrail is the coach of. This team is one that I played last season. They've got the Minotaur. This is the only Minotaur in these upper divisions. And he got Juggernaut now, so he's a little bit more reliable. I'll give him that. That is the main removal threat of this team. And he is blitzing with him first and foremost, and that I know impacts his record. Overall, the record is 6-10-17. It is his third season, so he's still got some development to go. This season, he's 1-2-4. And I think compared to the last Chaos team we looked at, I mean, you can see the start of a lot of stuff. He's got some guard, he's got some claw. He doesn't have any claw mighty blow other than the Minotaur. What are your thoughts on this team?
Well, I didn't really get the chance to play him because he had some real life stuff come up, so we had to miss our game.
Mm.
But I remember wanting to play him. This was back before he had some of the extra claw pieces, and I think he only had the Minotaur that could do stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's an early Chaos team where you get to pick on them while they're still,
Yeah.
lacking those essentials. And he's only got one tackle, for example.
yeah, and now he's starting to look a little scarier.
Yeah,
But
if you can, I mean, for your team like yours, you can isolate the Minotaur, throw a zombie on it, and move on with the rest of the team.
Yeah. But I mean, I see some stuff that I don't particularly agree with. Like he took the armor up on a block guard beastman.
Yeah, I also
Okay,
am not a fan of the guard and a claw. If you're
Yeah.
going to do guard, do block with it to make it stand up more reliably. And I don't like claw before mighty blow, which is another topic of conversation. But yeah, that's. I mean, it's like I said, it's very early bones. I think give him another season and it'll be a lot more competitive. His record, we just talked about that. Yeah, it's 1-2-4. So, yeah, he's still probably got, like I said, another season of development before he moves up. In the standings this season, pretty much all big losses except for the draw against the Big Green Weenies where nobody could score, and the draw against the Rebel Rousers. Pretty close match against Three Mountains and Dimension C137. I'm curious how those ones went, but yeah, that's Scholarly Gentleman. Moving on to the Three Mountains, Chaos Abulu and his dwarves. These are fresh Troll Slayers. One of them's got Mighty Blow piling on, the other one's Mighty Blow. We've got a Blodge, stand firm, that you niggled. Blitzer, Agi up, which is now armor busted, and Blodge. So his Blitzers are definitely taking some injuries here. The runner, which he mentioned, which is Blodge, Agi up, and movement up, and rolled another double. So he's going to get sidestep, I assume, and become the pure elf that he knows himself to be. And then your wrestle strip ball tackle runner, which I really like as a good safety. And then standard guard and the Mighty Blow with one grab. He had a second grab, which we talked about early in the season, and he let that one go. So that makes sense to me. I think it was movement busted. Any thoughts or feedback on this team? Did I lose you? I lost Rumble here. Record for the season is 4-1-2. This is his second season. He was definitely a top winning coach of his division, but he was in there with Wave, and Wave just took it over. And biggest blowout was against the Big Green Weenies, so I would say he's kind of on the rise, although he did lose to both Necro games. And has he played the Elves yet? No. So his weakness so far has been movement, which it's dwarves, so that makes sense. The rest of the slower teams, he has been able to roll right over. We'll move on to the Secret of My Success, coached by Rusty Seabutter. They are 8-9-8 this season. Oh, did I get you back, Rebel?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that.
No worries. We're on the Secret of My Success. This season they are 1-4-2. Which is kind of middle of the road. Their overall record of 8-9-8 is kind of consistent with that one, that 33% across the board. The team where it's at right now, I mean, they've got rid of the troll. It looks like they had a troll previously, I think. They've got 3 really well-developed black orcs. I think they might have lost one. They've got a lot of blodge, and a couple stat ups. But all in all, this is a very trim and efficient orc team. With the agi up on the block, I mean, I like that a lot. They've got a frenzy piece. I don't really have a lot of nitpicks with this orc team. Do you have any suggestions for them?
He needs to level one of his linemen. Get some dirty player.
Yeah, a fouling threat definitely would help. I actually think I would like him to have one more on his bench as well. Although he's at 1600, so he's playing the trim orcs. So he gets inducements a lot, I'm sure. Wizards aren't the best. I would actually probably go with the chainsaw over a wizard these days, depending on your opponent. Orc inducements are never that great, though. There's no star player that's really awesome other than the chainsaw.
Yeah. Whenever I play orcs and I get a ton of inducements, I always end up just buying a bunch of bribes.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you need that dirty player. Makes them far more effective. Cool. Yeah. Good luck, Rusty Seabutter. Lebowski Urban Achievers, coached by Sherdog. They just had a Chaos Warrior get killed by a Dimension C137, and it was one of their killy ones with jump up. So I know that hurts, but he does still have the pure killer Chaos Warrior. And then he's got Jesus, here's the Driven Snow. Agi 5 dodge. So that's a threat to watch out for.
Man, when I played him, Jesus, I was not ready for anything that he did.
It's one of those pieces where you can literally see the ball on the ground, double click on it, and not worry about what the pathing does. Because it's just going to keep rolling dice, and unless he gets snakes, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, so...
Yeah,
I remember playing it and just being shocked at where that Chaos Warrior ended up.
I mean, I'm used to playing Iron Master, so I know to prepare for those kinds of eventualities. I would not be surprised if Jesus ends up on Iron Master's team after this season. That's all I'll say about that. The star of the team, though, is actually the Beastman Brant, I would say. Strength up, block, tackle. This is the real threat. Sure, the killer Walter is something that you want to worry about and have a plan for, but the one that's probably doing the most work, I'm sure, is this strength up, block, tackle piece, keeping him in line with these elves. This season, he's 14, or his overall record is 14-2-8. That is the best of any Chaos coach in this team, or in this division. And actually, I think one of the better Chaos ones I've seen, other than Sage. This season, he's 3-0-4, so he's definitely had some losses, but he's had some wins too. Big loss against Dimension C137. But wins against Please Don't Murder Me, and there's this other one. The Rebel Rousers. A loss to Lords of Decay, which we talked about in an earlier recap quite a bit. And so again, he's kind of like the Dwarves, where it's the movement teams that are getting him, not necessarily the bash ones. I think he's doing pretty good in the bash matchups. So
yeah, he's got the tools to deal with the bash. He's got enough guard. He's got mighty blow. He's got some claw.
Yeah, I would actually think that looking at the teams that he's played, I think he's going to end up higher than he is right now in the leaderboard. Moving on to Lords of Decay, coached by Kalisti Maya. This team is a Skaven team that has a couple fun agi ups on the Thrower and the Storm Vermin, both of which are now also blodged too. So if you get an agi up, you get a double. Why that double wasn't Claw, I will still continue to harp on because God, that drives me nuts. But is what it is. He's a clawless Skaven, so he's getting beat up. The Storm Vermin, or the Gutter Runners, though, I do like. All of them are kind of doing well. The only thing I will criticize is his movement 10-1. He is not feeding the ball to, and he is not making that natural one-turner, which is just so damn good that by not doing that, he's only hurting himself. I get that you want to have your two heads on one gutter, your ball sacker, and you want that leap on the big hand. But damn it, just give him the ball and let him score. And
Yeah, he only needs 3 touchdowns.
yeah, and once he gets sprint, that's it. That's all he needs. He's a natural one turner. You don't have to do any
Yeah,
blocks, and you just give him the ball and do Golgothan things and tie no matter what happens. Not calling
yeah.
anybody out there. Um, Statistically, this team is 11-4-8 overall. This season, he's 3-1-3. He had a much better last season. Things have been a little bit tougher for him, facing, I would say, teams with higher team value than his. And he's got pretty bloaty rats in the first place. But just those higher TV teams have been able to kind of outpunch him. And I think he's also been playing some tougher coaches, too. So those things definitely factor in. Have you played him yet?
No, I get the Rats the last week of the season.
So we'll be looking forward to that one. Skinky Island Boys, the former playoff team, coached by Wave. They had a rougher start to their season. They've continued to cycle some Saurus, although that looks like the bleeding has stopped. But we have the armor-busted Bloxagor and a couple pretty bashy Saurus, I would say. The Piling On in particular stands out to me. That's new, and that's not standard.
Yeah, no, it's never really a good idea to put your Saurus on the ground.
Well,
Lizards,
it's the control thing. Now, if he's not playing against a team like an agility team, he's playing a bash team. There's a use for that, but he can always get fouled. So
yeah.
you haven't played him yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
So that's another one that you're gonna have to watch out for. He's overall 18-4-7 this season, 3-2-2. Like I said, much lower start than he had last season, where he did not lose a single game. But he's had some stiffer opponents, so it's been quite interesting. All his skinks, man. Every skink here looks good. I would not call any of them bloaty. They all have a purpose. If you can get sure hands on that block one, that would be nice. Man, that's
Yeah,
nice.
maybe give the move up one sprint
Mm-hmm. Make that
with
the one
his
turner.
next level up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Liking that. Moving on to the Rebel Rousers, coached by Dr. JBP. This is one. So their overall record is 9-7-4. This season, though, they are 0-4-3, and this is where, you know, I say humans, man, humans. They are in a division with a whole bunch of other just crazy teams. And this team has a lot of crazy things. He's got a movement up, agi up catcher. He's got an agi up blodge blitzer. And he's got a strong arm thrower. But all those things just kind of make them mediocre to even with all the other crazy teams. So it sucks. That's why I think his record is what it is. I don't think it's a reflection of the coach. I know he's talking about re-rolling, but it's humans, man.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of humans.
If you take all these skills and you put them on a dark elf team, how scary would that be?
That is not a team I would want to play.
Right? Like, yeah, that's just rough. Like,
I mean, could you imagine a movement up AG5 Dark Elf catcher?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, even if it's just a blitzer and instead of the block, he gets dodge, as a level up, but with those other same stat ups. I mean, that's a crazy piece. And alignment with guard block, got your kicker. I mean, basically this is like a mint. The only thing he couldn't do is the blitzers with strength up. Those would have to be doubles to get him where he's at, but to get the stand firm guard and the mighty blow. But I mean, seriously, this should be a dark elf team, and this would be disgusting as a dark elf team. But because humans, his record's just not that great. So
yeah. I don't know. I don't see the wisdom in playing a team that's not great at anything, but excels at doing what the other team can't do.
I'm gonna attribute this one to the Trunkhead effect, where Trunkhead's Bad Guys Inc. just went on that tear a couple seasons back, and inspired a whole bunch of other human coaches. And now we're starting to see all those humans. And I don't know if Dr. JVB even knew who Drunkhead was when he rolled this team,
Right.
but we're seeing all these human teams now that have re-rolled or are going to
So-
re-roll.
Fun fact: I was in Trunkhead's division for Bad Guys Inc.'s first season, and I'm the reason he didn't have a perfect season.
Nice.
I absolutely diced him week 1, and
Nice.
we played for a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. Jeez. Yeah, those humans are crazy, and they just had a phenomenal season, and just got clipped in the playoffs by a better, real team. That's what humans do. So, anyway, moving on to the second page, Dimension C137, the current leaders of the division. We've got the crazy ass, ridiculous mummies that I just can't stop talking about. Blodge guard, the other one's strength up, break tackle guard. Scary Terry living up to his name, moving pieces left and right. The Agi up one, which doubles as a quarterback if he wants to do quick scores. The Ghoul, he bought a Ghoul. He bought the Agi up Ghoul, and that's done a lot of work for him. But he's got another guard one just in case one goes down or he wants to just guard you everywhere. One of his Ghouls died, and that was to Super Dragon 6000. But that was the bloaty one, so we kind of did him a favor. That one had catch and sprint, which were kind of irrelevant skills. And then the skeleton, which is the most useful lineman that you could ever have on a necro or undead team.
Yeah, I used to have a guard block zombie, and I loved that piece. But
With tackle too for all those agi teams. I mean,
yeah.
that's
Mine took like 4 permanent injuries, and I finally had to fire him. I couldn't do it anymore.
when it is down to 2 movement and it has to roll like a tree to stand up, it's probably time to let him go. Wait, it was my first season in the league, and I had an undead team that had a dirty player, sneaky get zombie that was double movement busted, and so he would get focused and get knocked down, and then he would spend the rest of the game trying to stand him up and then chase you. When he would knock somebody over with a blitz to try and foul you, so he'd do GFIs, and then he would get knocked over again, failing to GFI, and then try and spend another 2 turns standing up again and following the action. It was the funniest thing ever, and he never fired it. He quit the league before he even fired it. It was hysterical. Overall record 17-6-2. He really doesn't lose this season. It's 5 wins, 2 draws, 0 losses. His only loss last season was to Wave, and maybe Hipster, or was that a draw? I can't recall. I think he might have had a loss in the Devastational. Hard to remember. Well, I can look at the record and see.
Let's see. He drew Wave. He drew NPA.
Did it concede? Oh, it was preseason. It was spins. Early spins. He played Lizards and lost to them too. So really, in the actual season play, he only has 1 loss. Yeah, that's impressive. Got a little bit of bloat in the money. I'm assuming he'll drop some money.
Yeah, probably.
Cool. All right, well, let's move on to Necromantic Newbies, coached by Yuichi Haruma. Blodge Mighty Blow Tackle Werewolf. Blodge Werewolf. We picked on him at the start of the season because he didn't have tackle and just those skills. Last season he was plagued by a lack of development. His overall record 12-4-8, but this season 3-3-1. Much better off. It's 7 losses last season, so he's corrected the ship, and he fouls. I like that about him. I don't know about the niggled kicker. I don't know if kick is that worth it, but maybe it is to him. I don't know. What do you think? He's got a bench, so
yeah, I think he has too much of a bench for how low his TV is.
That makes sense.
But I gotta say, if my kicker had been in the game against Luke, I wouldn't have lost. If
Well,
I had
that's
been able
a
to,
fair point.
if I had been able to control where that ball was going, I could have just stuffed it in the corner and been okay. So I would keep the niggled kicker, but if he levels again, I would get rid of him, especially with how many zombies he has
Yeah,
that are so close to leveling.
that's a good point. He's got a ton of SPP down here that's just on the cusp.
And just
And then the
as
hindered
soon as one of
dejection.
those levels, I would
And
drop him.
yeah, the hindered dejection golem, man, gotta love that. Lodge guard, the dream.
Yeah, but he pays the golem tax just like the rest of us. He gets
Yes,
one good golem and then one fresh golem.
Demetrius Underwood the third, implying the multiple deaths there.
Yeah.
Of this season, the big matches that stand out to me, obviously he knows how to beat chaos. He's done that very well this season. A draw against the humans, that's a little eyebrow raising, as well as the orcs. So struggling against a couple of those coaches, but the win against the dwarves, I think, makes a statement. He knows how to use that movement, and hey, he beat you too. That also matters.
Yeah, that was a little rough. It was payback for the devastational.
Yeah,
I ran circles around him in the devastational, and
he caught
this
up to you.
game during the season, just his wolves came back from their injuries, mine didn't. I just couldn't keep up.
There you go. Please Don't Murder Me, coached by Luke Sama. Unfortunately, Luke Sama had some internet issues as a result of the hurricanes. So he's not in jeopardy of getting kicked out of the league or anything. I mean, those are circumstances beyond his control for sure. But he had to force some concedes, unfortunately. So his overall record 10-2-12 this season, 1-1-5. But I think 2 or 3 of those 5 losses were concedes, including one against not FDA approved where he was up 3-1, which I mentioned earlier. So I think that this coach certainly is better than his record suggests. He also got a big win over you in the 3-2 match, which we talked about earlier. He just barely lost to Skinky Island Boys and Dimension C137. I do need to look, though. He still has the Magician Shop. Oof, I don't know about that. Don't know about that at all. He's down to 1 Blitzer, so 1 Blitzer died. But the one he has Mighty Blow, so that's cool. He's probably going to get tackled next. And then the Agi 6 piece that does things and hasn't died.
Yeah, it's a stupid piece.
It's like Jesus the Chaos Warrior, but better because it has. I mean, Nerves of Steel isn't really going to do a thing unless you've marked him 3 times. So he kind
Which
of
was the
wishes
case in our game.
Really? Oh wow, I did a thing.
Yeah, he just. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm sure he wishes it was dodge, but that's good to know that it actually did a thing and it got value for him, considering he's paying $30K for that.
Yeah.
Dauntless lineman, WTF? Why are we not going wrestle? Maybe that's a misclick. Maybe because wrestle and Dauntless look pretty close to the same. I'm just gonna assume that was a misclick, unless he really, really hates big guys. But I think there's only like 3 big guys in this division, 4 actually. Anyway, it's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, and that's got to be new. I don't remember Dauntless lineman when we played.
It's weird. It's very weird. Yeah. So he's got a couple of big matches still left this season, but I'm more curious to see what he does next season because it sucks that the internet issues got in his way. Last team we're going to look at is the Big Green Weenies, coached by Havoc, and this team was built for the long run. In the sense that you got Mighty Blow first on pretty much everything. Tons and tons of Mighty Blow, tons and tons of danger and removal threat, but not a lot of ball threat, not a lot of ball security. No sure hands, no thrower, no dodge, no doubles, no statics. This is pure, unfiltered hatred in orc form. This is the war. This is craziness. Yeah.
And what's worse, is it's not working for him.
Well, it shouldn't,
But
honestly. This is going too far on the CCL, I'm going to kill you side of things.
I just meant that I'm not surprised that he's not doing better in the league because he doesn't have that ball moving capability. I just meant that the removals aren't there. Like
mm,
he's not rolling very good injury rolls at all.
yeah, that's probably fair, and that's probably why he's 0-3-4 this season. Last season he was 8-3-2, so he did much better last season. But it's because he just kind of leaned into it too hard. I think if he keeps with this team, not next season. I think next season it's going to need to be more development. But if he keeps with this team for 2 seasons, it'll be better than my team is because it's going to have so much more development and all the right places, specifically the Black Orcs. And he's probably going to lose a blitzer or two between now and then. I don't think you need 2 killers. And that's okay. If you lose one of your killers, then you turn one of your blitzers into an actual ball threat. But you only got 3 rerolls, and you don't have sure hands. So any strip baller is going to ruin your day. And you have strip ball, so you know the importance of it. I think the troll is helpful, but not in this division. It's only going to be helpful against the chaos teams. Otherwise, I don't think it's the best. Yeah, that's as an one orc coach to another, you kind of fucked up, but it's not a bad thing if you look at it, for the long run. Big matches, he's had some big losses and some close ties. That's pretty much how his season's gone so far, but he can turn that corner. And good God, whoever plays him in the Devastational, my condolences, because when he has nothing to lose and everything to gain by hurting you, you are going to be in for a nightmare. So pray if you are a 1 season team entering the Devastational and you're like, hey, my high elves all have block or dodge, yay. This is the guy that you want to worry about. So this or Nurgle. Nurgle's always bad. But yeah, so that is it for the teams. Let's go ahead and pop over to the leaderboard. Bottom from the top, Big Green Weenies, we just talked about them, 0-3-4. The season's over. That doesn't mean that you can't play Kingmaker. You've got some big matches ahead of you, and you can take some scalps and earn some bounties, courtesy of Kalista Maya. Good luck and go for that. Please don't murder me, Luke Sama. Again, DCs, we talked about that. Your record would probably be, I would say, probably 3-1-3 would be my guess of where he would be at. Not out of playoff competition, but probably somewhere in the hunt still. REBBL Rousers, 0-4-3. Humans doing human things. You're kind of right there with those high elves. And then we've got the Chaos and Orc bunch here, where of the 3, the one that I thought was the best, Sherdog, is doing the best at 3-0-4. His Chaos team is kind of ready to shine. Actually, no, Cenobite Curbs is probably right there as well, and it's at 1890. Sherdog was the one that just lost Killer, so that's why his TV is so low.
Yeah.
But both of them are really removal ready. Thoughts on those teams so far that we covered? For playoffs, I think it's fair to assume that all of these are kind of out with 9 points or less.
Yeah. Unless they win out and there's some major shakeups near the top, I don't think they're gonna climb too far.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's REBBL, man. Not everybody can go to the playoffs. Keep your team for the long run. I think
dead last season. So.
Yeah. The only one that should re-roll, and I think they've already kind of decided on it, is the humans, Dr. JBP. But I think everybody else could stick with their team and be way better off next season than they are this season. Moving up the ladder, Kalista Maya with his rats, doing rat stuff. I think he still is a Storm Vermin. He could still potentially sneak his way into the playoffs, but it'd be a long shot. But it is possible. Wave with the Skinky Island Boys. He was a playoff coach. I'm not going to rule him out yet because he's still got some big matches ahead of him. And he did draw the current leaders, so there's potential there for him to run the table. He's done it before. And his team's better now than it was when it made the playoffs last season, so there's a good chance that he does pull that off. Yoichi,
that's one of the matches I'm worried about.
Yeah, you should be. Yuichi Hiruma, 3-1. Now we're getting to the serious playoff contenders here. He is really a 4-win team at this point with those draws. And he's got some decent TD differential as well. He just needs to be able to continue to beat the bashier teams. He's got some tough games ahead of him. I would argue that he's got probably the toughest schedule ahead of him of the teams that are in playoff contention, so that might be enough to rule him out. Three Mountains, they have another tough match of them, which I believe is happening tonight against Dimension C137. So if they can get through that and upset things and shake up the board, they can also kind of claw their way into the fight as well. They played you already, so I believe the Elves is going to be the other big challenge, and they've already struggled against some high movement teams. That between that match and the match tonight, I basically, if he can beat the top two, then he can earn his spot. We've got you at 5-0-2. I think it's yours to kind of lose at this point. The matches that you've got ahead of you, Dimension C137 and Wave, are your last two big tests. And honestly, even if you lose those, you could still find yourself in the top three. And then ATL, not FDA approved, at 5-1-1. Again, I think it's his to lose, although the attrition is really becoming a factor. He entered this as one of the top TVs in the division, and now he is one of the lowest. Granted, he's got some loners in there, but if Super Dragon 6000 goes down, or if these catchers start getting any more injured and niggled, and he still doesn't get the money to replace them, that could ultimately spell his fate and knock him out. Or he gets into the playoffs and he just gets destroyed just by making it. So he may not even want to go to the playoffs. I've heard a couple elf coaches have that as thoughts. So, and then the most likely to make it to the playoffs, Tommy Two Talls, Dimension C137 at 5-2-1. Again, it's his to lose. He's got a couple tough matches. You and Chaos Abulu, I think, are the two toughest ones he has left. And then he just gets to bash his way through some orcs.
Did he play ATL already?
He did. That was a 1-1 draw.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. ATL killed one of his ghouls. And he drew, the other draw was against Wave. So two of the top teams he's already drawn. The rest that he's played, he's kind of beaten. But he has not played Kasabulu, he has not played you, and he has not played... Play Yoichi? I don't think he's played Yuichi Haruma yet either. So that would be another one to watch for.
Maybe we'll get lucky and one of the chaos teams will trim him up a little bit.
Hasn't happened yet. I think he might have even played all the chaos teams. So he's looking at the orc, the Mighty Blue Orc team, which could do some damage. He does have one chaos team. He has Cenobite the Curb. And then your team, so you get Chaos right before him, so you got a chance. And then the humans, he hasn't played the humans yet, which I'm not predicting an upset there.
I think I'm playing him week 11.
Yeah. Yep. So unless you trim him for the humans, I'm going to give that one to him. But that's going to pretty much do it. Unless you have any last thoughts, any upsets that you would like to call. I personally think the top three right now is the top three that's going to go.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you on that one. I don't think they can catch up, even with my loss to the other Necro team.
I think even if Kasabulu wins tonight, I don't think that's going to be enough to knock. I mean, that just means Dimension C137 might get the third seed instead of the first seed.
Right.
But yeah, because he already lost to you, Kasabulu already lost to you. I don't think that's going to be enough to just, unless he gets crippled or something. I just don't think it's going to be enough.
Yeah, it's interesting where we're at with only 2 points separating 1 through 3 like that. Because if I beat Tommy, I'll just leapfrog up.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like I said, I think the positioning might be different. And I could totally see you taking the first seed. I think that's going to be his toughest remaining matches to you for sure, especially following that Chaos team. If he loses his killer or something useful like that, that would put him in a really rough spot. So,
yeah.
Yep.
I really
Yep.
don't want the top seed though. I was looking at it today, and the top seed is going to play the top seed from Big O Div 3, and right now that's an undefeated Chaos Dwarf team that doesn't look very nice.
That's Big O. That's all I'm saying on the subject. Alrighty, that's gonna do it for us. Thanks everybody for watching. Divs 2 and 1 will soon to follow. I will be probably missing the Thursday cutoff scene as it is Thanksgiving, and I probably want to find co-hosts, so I'll probably extend my usual time frame of Thursday to this Saturday to try and get the rest of the divisions done for this week. But as always, thank you for watching. Yeah, that'll do it. You guys have a good night.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
Bye.